Salty and Dr. Harris. We just call them physeal fractures. Number one is just a physeal slip. Can you have a salted fracture in an adult? Okay, great. No. Now watch and see somebody will say yes on the exam. That's going to be on there. Because that's what students say. Okay, I got a salted one. But you don't. You just got a fracture. Got to have a physis to call it a physeal fracture. So these are youngsters. Physeal fracture 1, Salter Harris 1. It's a physeal slip. Let me just separation. A Salter Harris 2 is a 1 plus a friend. That's your metaphyseal piece. Everybody see your metaphyseal segment there? So you got to have a metaphyseal segment, a metaphyseal piece. So it took a friend with it. So a Salter 1 with a friend is a 2. A Salter 3 is a physeal and it goes through the epiphysis. That's a 3. And then a 4 is a 3 and a friend, which is a metaphyseal. So your friend is the metaphysis. So it doesn't matter where that Salter fracture is located, proximal or distal, it's going to look the same if you use that concept. But if you use the other one, you're going to get confused because I'm going to give you one that's distal and then you're going to confuse it. So 2s and 4s have friends. 1 and 2 go together, 3 and 4 go together. Everybody follow that? Okay, then a 5. Now, I don't care what you use when you get in practice. You can use whatever you like. I don't care. Well, I do care. I really do care. I do. But I have to teach you the way that I can understand it and I can remember it. So 1 and a 2, a 3 and a 4, and then a 5 is a crush. Now, you're not going to see a crush radiographically. You're going to see signs of it because what's going to happen? It's going to close prematurely. And then you get premature closure. Then one limb is angular and the other one is lumbar. So then number 5, you see angular limb deformities. And a 6, we see in horses a lot, when there's a lot of proliferation at a physis, and then it keeps the physis on that side from growing, and of course now the limb angles. So that's a 6. You see it in dogs as well. Okay, Salter Harris 1. Salter Harris 2. Where's your friend? Right here. See this metaphyseal segment? Now everybody see the fibular fracture. So you see the metaphyseal piece here? And then here's the fight. This is a 1 over here. And then it took a friend with it. So that's a 2. Is this a fracture? This is the tibia tuberosity. Is that fractured? It is fractured? So what did I tell you about centers of it's not. So what attached? You know those big old large cordyceps attached on the tibia tuberosity, right? You think it's going to stay there if it's fractured? No. It's moving. And so when it moves, it's referred to as an avulsion. It's no longer in its place. So it would be an avulsion of the tibia tuberosity. So is there an avulsion fracture? Is there an avulsion fracture of the tibia tuberosity? No. No, because it's still in its location. Tibia tuberosity. Okay, so it's going to move. Okay. Capital physeal slips, or capital physeal fractures, nothing more than a Salter 1 at the femoral head, the femoral neck. You can call it a Salter 1, but it's typically referred to as a capital physeal slip. In youngsters, always perform a frog leg view. This is a frog leg view. Put the pet on his back and just legs go off to the side. And the purpose of that is so that you can actually see the separation at the physis. Sometimes when you pull the legs caudally for the BD view, it might not be as obvious in the separation. But when you do the frog leg view, it really tells you because those two pieces separate. And you can diagnose it better, or you can see it better for your diagnosis. Capital physeal slip. Premature closure. So why is it common at the distal? What's the most common location? The distal ulna, right? Why is that? Why is that? Okay, let me just tell you. I'm so glad you asked. Okay, this is back to my HOD. Look at the distal ulna and look at the distal radius. What's the shape of the distal ulna? Kind of like a V, conical shape, right? Which one you think is going to easily slip off? The distal radius or the distal ulna? The distal radius, right? What's going to happen to the distal ulna? Just kind of, it usually causes some heat and then it damages the chondrocytes because it doesn't fracture and it's not easily moved because of that V shape. And so therefore that one premature closes more commonly. So if the distal radius closes, are the limbs, the digits, are they going to continue? Are they going lateral or are they going to go medial? Distal ulna, that's the most common one, distal ulna. The distal ulna is now prematurely closed because that's common. So what's going to happen to the digits? Are they going medial or are they going lateral? Because the radius continues to grow. Okay, and that is referred to as a valgus. Val has an L in it. Lateral. So it's a valgus deformity. Then the radius is just the opposite. So remember one, and the other one is just the opposite. So if you have a distal radial premature closure, then the ulna continues to grow and the digits go medial. Okay, so that's why we see the premature closure so common in the distal radius, and therefore we see valgus deformity. Okay, so those are some examples. Everybody got to see those? Any questions on that? You have a question?
I was going to ask is that valgus, is that the common reason for like short-term short ribs, like shocks and stuff?
Not the chondrodysplastic, no.
Oh.
No, that's just how they, that's just chondro, those are just chondrodysplastic. Now, if you want to say something like this, it has an appearance of, you can say that. But it's really not about valgus deformity because it's just the root. This is an avulsion fracture of the tibia tuberosity. Is it in its normal location? No. It's moving. So it is referred to as an avulsion fracture. So anytime there's a separate center of ossification, and if there are structures that are attached to them, and if they move it, it's leaving. Its parent location is leaving, and that's therefore referred to as an avulsion. Pathological fractures. Now, I can give you a story on this one. Large breed dogs that has some very minor history of trauma. You know, they are playing, then the dog fractures its limb. If that happens with such a simple history, then you ought to be thinking something pathological. Something underlying that caused the fracture to occur. Pathological fractures, typically we see with primary bone tumor. It started, you don't see any evidence of it radiographically, the dog is not showing any clinical signs. You you all out running or something, and then it breaks its leg. So anything like that, any history like that, you should be thinking of some type of underlying lesion, and I said, and I gave you an example, neoplasia infection, metabolic bone disease. So what do you look for? You look for this to see if you have healthy bone. If you look at this distal segment, that bone is not healthy. So you look for signs of proliferation or lysis. Now it takes 7 to 10 days to see any signs of bone changes, 7 to 10. So if you got a history that it just broke your limb yesterday and you start seeing changes, you know that that's a pathological fracture. Because it takes 7 to 10 days to see anything radiographically. Okay, question. And get that out before I forget.
So when you have fungal infections in the bone, do you break tissue or do you just
We typically don't see, if there's fungal disease of the bones, we usually see more proliferation, maybe some lysis, but more proliferative. With fungal osteomyelitis, like fungal osteomyelitis, is usually some more proliferative. Now, there's some lysis there, but not to the point where there's fractures. If you happen to have a pathological fracture, more than likely there's probably a neoplasia. More than likely. Okay, femoral neck fractures. Now remember I talked about the circumflex artery that's supplied to the femoral head. So if there's a femoral neck fracture, what happens at the neck is that you get bone resorption. That's what happens normally, right? Bone fractures, there's resorption, and then there's production of new bone growth and remodeling. That's just how bones work. But if it loses its blood supply, it resorbs, but there's no integrity of vessels there to cause the remodeling. So we end up seeing this apical lesion. You see the lucency around it? Okay. Now, would you put, I'm going to see if you were listening, would you put idiopathic avascular necrosis in your differential? Idiopathic avascular necrosis on my left. Yes or no? Sure. And no? Yes. What about over here? Yes? So, what is the radiographic sign of idiopathic avascular necrosis? Where do you see the proliferation or lysis? On where? On the femoral head. Where is this? So do you put avascular necrosis in your differential leg calf herpes? No. Because it is a head lesion. Head, this is a neck. Right? Head looks good. The head looks fine. So many times in these little toy breeds, we get confused with a previous femoral neck fracture or a previous physeal slip, and you confuse it with avascular necrosis. Okay? Look very similar. Okay, question?
I was trying to see how can I differentiate this from the softer.
If it's a salt, you would put Salter-Harris fracture, yes. You could say this could be a secondary to a capital physeal slip. I buy that one, but not leg calf herpes, because there's a femoral head lesion, not a neck lesion, a head. They don't look similar. Elbow luxation, common. Is it going? Where is the humerus going? Medial, when it slips, medial lateral. It's just a part of the limb. Medial lateral, to my left. This leg. Oh, the humerus, I'm sorry. Where's it going? Okay, which way is the limb is going to luxate? I just say it like that. Is it going medial lateral? It's going lateral. That's correct. Why? Because of the large medial condyle, epicondyle. Remember, there's an epicondyle on the medial condyle, and the lateral condyle doesn't have one. So it easily slips lateral. If you look at this view, you see this little 90-degree angle structure here. That's the medial epicondyle. And you can see just about on every lateral view. The lateral condyles you see is sometimes flattened right underneath that, But because of the medial epicondyle, it makes the medial condyle larger. So it doesn't easily slip medial, it goes lateral because of the medial epicondyle. Pelvic fractures. Pelvic fractures. Okay, what's the time? Oh, okay. Yes. Okay. Pelvic fractures. Pelvic fractures. And you all have had this lecture, right? If you look for one fracture into the pelvic canal, look for another one. Correct? Look for a second one. At least another one. Because of how the muscle attachments to this box, that we call it a box. Most